Alright, hello everybody, welcome to part 18, I believe it is, of my career mode in Formula 1 25, the video game. We are at Singapore, we are racing as Jack Crawford, and there is confidence in the air. There's something about Singapore that I'm quite good at. Not to give myself that much of an ego boost, but we're pretty good at Singapore, I feel. So it will certainly be interesting as we just complete our practice sessions. We get a near perfect. And we can skip what Crofty has to say about qualifying. We don't care about qualifying. What we do care about is getting a setup on though. So Singapore, first ever night race. Fun fact. And probably my favourite night race. I'm trying to think of other tracks that I'm good at that are night races, and I can't really think of any. Especially none so far that we have raced at in the career mode, being Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. So there's confidence in the air, and I am very much feeling it. As we leave the pit lane now, we said goodbye to Richard Verschoor, and we have Isaac Hadjar on our backside as we leave the pit lane. And we don't cross the white line, that is very, very key. Because I remember in a lot of old goddamn saves of this race in other F1 games, other career modes, I crossed the white line a lot. But anyway, speaking of lines crossed, we have crossed the start-finish line to start our qualifying lap. Completely eat up that first and second apex. We just give a little bit of a tap to the third apex, and at the end of the first sector it's a 27.186, which I don't believe is... It sounds pretty competitive, although I'm not the most knowledgeable. It's a 106.350 in the middle sector. Charles Leclerc goes fastest. We had a little bit of traffic as well. I'm going to have dirty air off Pierre Gasly, and as we cross the line it's a 131.838. And we are 1.5 seconds off Charles Leclerc on that pole position, as we just let by Ollie Behrman in P14 as we start our final flying lap. And already we're looking a little bit down on our time. And we had a little bit of a wiggle coming through the final corner. But once again eating them apexes the first two corners, not even giving a tap this time to that third apex. And at the end of the first sector we're about 5 100ths up. So it's a 27.121 in the first sector. At the end of the second sector we found 1.2 seconds, 105.109 after the middle sector, and we found another couple of attempts in the final sector, so we're looking at 1.4 second increase, and that was a 130.4 something, which will set us P7 on the grid. Very impressive by us, I must say. But anyway, enough about glazing me in qualifying. Take it away, Crofty.
Marina Bay hosted a Grand Prix that briefly ran in the 60s and 70s, but the Garden City re-entered the calendar for good in 2008. We missed it for a couple of years, but it was great to come back to the Singapore Grand Prix. And here's our track, 4.94 kilometres long, and overtaking chances into the first corner, into turn 14 at the end of the Esplanade, and now into turn 16 in the newly reprofiled sector that we first ran on in 2023. Still though, it's punishing and tough on the brakes, and the heat and humidity will take an effect on our drivers. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Yuki Tsunoda lines up on pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, George Russell, and Piastri. Crawford, Fernando Alonso.
So we're joined behind Piastri and ahead of Fernando Alonso. Our teammate lined up P10 just behind Lando Norris. That's pretty good. The rest of the grid looks pretty normal. I think there's a car, one car missing. There it is. Kimi Antonelli was missing. I thought there was a big team driver missing, because there was, of course, the top four teams both of my drivers and just Fernando Alonso, so had to be someone missing. But anyway, into the strategy. We're going to underfuel the car by 0.8 laps. We're going to keep the strategy to normal, 16 laps on the hards, 15 laps on the mediums. But now we come to the formation lap. How many drivers would agree with starting on the hards? Doesn't look like Yuki Tsunoda will, doesn't look like Max Verstappen will, and I am right in that. Both Red Bulls on the mediums, both McLarens on the mediums, both Williams on the mediums, and Lance Stroll on the mediums. The other 15 drivers deciding to start on the hards. And we're coming to the end of the formation lap. And it's going to be an exciting race, I feel. I'm feeling quite confident, I must say. And we're going to be lining up on the grippy side of the grid. Unfortunately for our teammate, he will not. But hopefully we have something good coming out today. I'm not sure how much you can tell, but slightly different livery, as we got another sponsor at the end of the last video. But anyway, 3, 4, 5 lights are on. And we are racing in Singapore, and it's a much better start from us in the first phase, but in the second phase it's a little bit of wheel spin, and Fernando Alonso has already got ahead of us, and so has Lando Norris. But into the first corner we get back ahead of them, but we do go a little bit off the track, and now we're going round the outside at turn 3 of George Russell, and we do get ahead, but he's already trying to come back as we all race down towards turn 4, and George Russell on the outside line. We try and hold him off, and we do hold him off. So P6 for us already. It's a net gain position after the first 4 corners. Is he going to try and come back at us though, as we come around the kink of turn 5 and down in towards turn 6? No, he doesn't. And we've already managed to catch back up with Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton. We're actually going to send it on Oscar Piastri, the medium running McLaren driver. And he's now trying to come back at us on in turn 8, but he can't do that for the moment. We tried to cut him off a little bit on his inside line, which we do so with spectacular fashion, and now it's going to be a job of trying to catch back up with his top 4. Charles Leclerc leading ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, then it's Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Jack Crawford, Oscar Piastri, George Russell, Fernando Alonso, Lando Norris, and then our teammate is the end of the top 10 as we come down over the bridge into turn 14, I believe. And already we're closer to Hamilton than we are to Piastri, but at the exit of turn 14 we lose quite a lot of that speed and that time gain. Piastri's close enough to make a dive. He doesn't make it on that occasion though, 3 tenths behind. And coming into the final 2 corners, going to be held up a little bit by dirty air from Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc still leading the race, and he has quite a bit of a gap if we look at the track map. Charles Leclerc is a mile ahead of Yuki Tsunoda from Max Verstappen, who's right behind his teammate, but joined in that Hamilton right on the back of him, and we're right on the back of Hamilton, and Piastri's right on the back of us. So 2nd to 6th, all within touching distance of each other really. But a gap's beginning to form between the Red Bulls, who are going wheel to wheel into turn 6, and Max Verstappen running outside of Yuki Tsunoda. Max Verstappen does get ahead of Yuki Tsunoda and up into P2. And now we're up into P4. Yuki Tsunoda fell off a little bit. On lap 10 we are now in the DRS. Lewis Hamilton, are we close enough on lap 10 to try and make a move on the Ferrari driver? Using the battery, using DRS, and it's going to be a late send down the inside of Lewis Hamilton. Similar to his move in 2007 at Brazil, but on this occasion he does manage to come back ahead of us. So Lewis Hamilton back up into P3, the final podium playing position. And we have completely run away from the rest of the grid. Charles Leclerc's on his own, Max Verstappen on his own, and then it's this final podium position, which is really having a good battle here. Lewis Hamilton against Jack Crawford, but for the time being the Ferrari stays ahead. As we now come round turn 4, trying to widen the corner as much as we can on the inside. Trying to have enough speed to keep on the back of Lewis Hamilton. Down in towards turn 6. Are we close enough on this occasion? No, we are not. So half through lap 11, still Hamilton P3, Crawford P4. Lap 12 then, as we come around the final 2 corners, and look how close we are to Lewis Hamilton. Opening up that DRS, using all the ERS as well. Down towards turn 1, we're going to dive down the inside. Use all of the apex, try and keep the place. And we do, on this occasion, at the start of lap 13, we are up into that final podium paying position. But can Hamilton fight back against us? He's going to have DRS down into turn 6. And Lewis Hamilton looking to the left hand side of us, but we brake a little bit later. And we hold the outside line and we keep P3. Lap 14 then, and Max Verstappen decides he's had enough of the medium tyres, comes into the pits. So it's second place for us, third place for Hamilton. And Charles Leclerc gets a lot more clean air, both in front of him and behind him now. And a 6.5 second gap to Charles Leclerc. That is what we're going to be looking at. We're also going to care about where Verstappen's going to be when we pit. Speaking of which, lap 16 we're being recommended to pit and go to the medium tyres, do the last 15 laps on the yellow banded Pirelli tyres. And look at the gap we've already surpassed to Hamilton, 42% on that rear right as well, but 4 second gap to Hamilton. We do have the pace. We decided to wait a lap, pit in though, and we join Charles Leclerc. Lap 17 then, we come into the pits for our what should be our one and only pit stop. Charles Leclerc going over to the medium tyres. We hold him up in the pits as well. That's going to be huge when it comes to fighting for this top 3. As now we come into the pits, can we get a good pit stop as we see Charles Leclerc drive ahead of us and Max Verstappen on track drive ahead of us. But hopefully we can get ahead of any cars. Doesn't look like we're going to have any traffic coming out the exit, because Alonso and Verschoor also deciding to pit on lap 17 to 18. Go a little bit wide of the white line, we don't get a warning for it though. So we have a 4 second gap to try and catch with Charles Leclerc, and an 8.5 second gap to Max Verstappen, who has had his hard tyres a little bit worn. Lap 18 then, Hamilton pitting, and we do get ahead of him. So we're back into the podium positions. It's now 6 seconds to Leclerc and 9.5 seconds to Verstappen. So it'll be interesting to see what time we can gain in the last 10 laps. Last 10 laps is now actually. Lap 21, and there it is, Charles Leclerc getting ahead of Max Verstappen and into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. The medium tyres working out excellently. Lap 24 then, it's 5 second gap to Charles Leclerc and a 2 second gap to Verstappen as we come across our first lapped cars. Isaac Hadjar at the back of the pack. Unfortunately we do not get DRS off of the V-carb, which is going to be good. Red Bull would have been hoping for that. Try and add a little bit of a spanner into the works of us catching up with Max Verstappen, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. A lap later, lap 25, and we do sit in the DRS of Max Verstappen. The first time we've had DRS off Max Verstappen. Coming into turn 14, we're not close enough on that occasion to make a move. And on the exit, having DRS again, of course, it's a double DRS. Are we close enough? No, we are not. So, at the end of lap 25, still Verstappen P2, we're still P3, and Charles Leclerc is only a gap to 4 seconds, which is pretty interesting. Lap 26 then, still a 4 second gap to Charles Leclerc, but look at the exit we get out of the hairpin, and Max Verstappen's going to try and fight it on the inside line, but we're on the outside, we brake later than Max Verstappen. And on lap 26 at turn 14, with the help of DRS, we get ahead of Max Verstappen. He's not going to have the DRS to fight us back into turn 16. So, on lap 26, we get into second place, and we have to close down a 3.5 second gap to Charles Leclerc coming around the final couple of corners. And on to lap 27 then, 4 laps remaining of the Singapore Grand Prix. Can we try and close down that gap? We have the pace. That is so obviously seen. I mean, we closed a 9 second gap to 3 seconds in the space of 5 laps, so what can we do in the final 4? As we see Ollie Behrman, and what's going to be a great hand for us in the race for the lead of the race. We're going to have DRS as well as we pass Ollie Behrman. And Max Verstappen is already nowhere behind us as we get a little bit too much on the curb at the apex and we have to go wide. And we actually have that twice. We clipped the wall there, luckily no damage. And we should have underfueled the car more, I'm just noticing that now, because we're 1.2 laps above target. But halfway through lap 27. It's a 2.2 second gap to Charles Leclerc. We've really brought that gap down as we come into the hairpin, try and make the corner as wide as we can on both entry and exit. And for the first time since the pit stops, it looks like that gap is going to fall under 2 seconds. It's 1.6, 1.8 to Charles Leclerc, 1.9. Goes back to the 2 seconds for the time being, because that is the worst corner for us, turn 14. It is the ones we're getting the worst exits out of. Come around the penultimate corner and final corner now, and once again getting within that 2 second range of Charles Leclerc, lap 28 then. Chasing down that Ferrari, and we're just so quick at the moment. Trying to cut the corner as much as we can. 1.4 seconds to Charles Leclerc. Come around turn 4. Just look, we can read the sponsor on the back of that Ferrari. Using up all the battery we can on the straight, saving it up in the corners. 1.3 seconds to Charles Leclerc. Looks like we're going to be in the DRS of him by the next corner. If we don't wheel spin, we should be in the DRS by the next DRS zone. As we come into the sling now. Not really a sling anymore. It's just more of a awkward chicane. As we get a little bit of wheel spin again, but we are within that second. 0.8 seconds to Charles Leclerc. This is crucial here. Once again, making the corner wide, getting a little bit of wheel spin again. The medium's starting to fall off. We have worn them for 11 laps now. And look how close we are, Charles Leclerc. Half a second between us. 3 laps remaining at the Singapore Grand Prix, and you still can't tell me who's going to win this race. The man who's led it pretty much start to finish outside of when Verstappen pitted and came out ahead. Or the man with such good pace at the moment, but is the amount of pace he's coming at the risk of the tyres just being way too worn out to try and keep it. We have a look around the outside of Charles Leclerc. We have a switch back here, and now we're going wheel to wheel down towards turn 4. Charles Leclerc with the better run out turn 3 though. So on this occasion, Charles Leclerc is going to keep P1, and we try and make the corner once again very wide on that inside to try and keep a gap to Charles Leclerc. Using DRS, he moves to the left hand side, we move to the right hand side, and around the outside at turn 6, and we do get ahead of Charles Leclerc and into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix with just 2 laps remaining. And on lap 31, as we're coming towards turn 14, 3.2 second gap to Charles Leclerc. Just take it all in now. No risks. Nothing else can go wrong now. 4 more corners remaining of the Singapore Grand Prix. And we could just do nothing but take it all, and we do a little bit of shuffling and come around the final corner. We close straight up to that fence, because for the first time in Jack Crawford's career, he is a Grand Prix winner. Driver of the day as well for Jack Crawford. All you can really do is take it in. It's such a good race. Consistently fast every lap, constantly closing in the gap between Charles Leclerc, Verstappen and Crawford. We spent quite a lot of time behind Hamilton at the beginning of the race, but we got past him and we did not look back at all. All we were ever doing was extending the gap to the cars behind us. And look at where it's got us. A second win for the team in this career mode. Our first win came in Belgium, along with a sprint win. We pretty much dominated that whole weekend. And now a win at the greatest street circuit there is. Jack Crawford has won the Singapore Grand Prix. Take it in. Charles Leclerc P2, Max Verstappen P3. Don't actually know where Verschoor finished. I think he did get a point or 2. I think he was either 9th or 10th. Hopefully. He was 10th. In the driver's standings then, Verschoor stays P8, but Jack Crawford up into P9. He's massively jumped Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen, and hopefully no looking back in that either. Meanwhile, in the constructors, we stay P5, only 29 points behind Mercedes, so they have a little bit of a wreck of a weekend, especially George Russell. If George Russell DNFs next week in USA and we get on the podium again, we could be threatening that P5 in the constructors. But anyway, back at base now, and our R&D is asking for 50k, the greedy bastards. We also get to set our activities. What do we want to do? I'm just waiting to see it. When's it going to come? There it is. Victory celebration, podium celebration. That's what we were waiting for. Get the fan rating up as well, because if we do get the Fernando pair up that we need, we're going to need the fan rating. Especially Fernando Alonso. What was it? He was asking for 8 fan rating? Like, pretty ridiculous. And now we go to the meeting with Lando Norris. Remember, our fan rating is 3. Our workforce is okay with Lando, I think. I believe our workforce is fine. Who the fuck is that guy? Yeah, he needs a fan rating of 5. Vehicle performance, that shouldn't be anything to worry about. We don't actually have to pay a penalty if we don't meet the clause, which there is not a clause, so we don't need to worry about it. But expectations of the team is going to be a bit hard. But we have Lando Norris, who looks like he is going to join us. As now we get back to listening to the sick background music. We're now talks with the granddad himself, Fernando Alonso. Most experienced man in F1. Hopefully he can bring something to the team. Fan rating's a 7, so that's brought down a little bit. Everything else looks fine though. I believe there was still a penalty. There was still a clause and a penalty, so hopefully we don't have to do that, but I don't think it's going to be a big chip in our budget. So next weekend we're at Kota, another track which I do quite like. This time we will be racing as Richard Verschoor, of course. But that does signify the end of the video. Please subscribe, I need it. It doesn't cost anything, so I recommend doing it. Like, once again, helps me out, and it is absolutely free. Just do anything, please. It's free, so do it. But anyway, thank you, everyone, for watching, and goodbye.